Rouge Red Star is a young android girl who has been tasked with taking out an organization known as the Immortal Nine. The Immortal Nine are powerful androids who plan on taking over the world and removing their dependency on human beings. For her first mission, Rouge, accompanied by her partner, Naomi Orthman, has to take down Sarah Fitzgerald, a famous member of the Immortal Nine. After pretending to be her friend, Rouge reveals her real purpose to Sarah, and the two have to confront each other. Their argument turns into a heated battle, as both Sarah and Rouge possess the ability to turn into mech suits with dangerous powers. After battling it out with Sarah and almost being overpowered by her, Rouge is able to defeat her opponent and complete her mission. Now, she and Naomi must move on to their next target. With their first mission complete, Rouge and Naomi set off towards a town known as Wellstown, where their next target is located. They travel on a special bus, which is filled with other unique passengers, including a rich nobleman and his family, a journalist, and a strange, closed-off doctor. The passenger bus doesn't encounter any issues at first, but then they are attacked by mercenaries who are sent to take revenge for Sarah's death. Rouge and Naomi spring into action and try to evade their pursuers, but the bus ends up shutting down and the entire group has to spend the night in a jungle. Within the jungle, a dangerous machine from an old war is activated and it starts to hunt down Rouge and the other passengers. Things start to look grim, but Naomi is able to fix the bus just in time to allow everyone to escape, while Rouge transforms into her mech suit, brings the machine down before it crushes the bus entirely. After this incident has settled down, Rouge and the other passengers safely make it to Wellstown. Once they arrive in town, Rouge and Naomi have to figure out how to infiltrate an android settlement deep within a military fortress. While they discuss their plan, Naomi somehow ends up making Rouge angry by showing no regard for androids. This causes Rouge to separate from her partner and storm off towards the settlement alone. Rouge is able to find a way in through the help of Afdal, the same doctor who was on the bus as well. She ends up deep within the fortress and finds an entire android settlement there. Rouge's investigation at the settlement leads to her finding an android resistance group. They want to walk with humanity as equals, and they think that due to Rouge's unique status as an android, she can help them accomplish their goal. Rouge ends up being pretty conflicted, but before she can even make a decision, the leader of the resistance group ends up dead. The settlement goes into high alert, and Rouge is suspected of murdering the resistance leader. But the entire settlement erupts into chaos as the police force their way through and exert violent control over the androids. Rouge has no choice but to run for safety, but while she tries to escape the police force, she also has to keep an eye out for Verde, the next Immortal Nine member that she must eliminate. While things within the settlement are disastrous, Naomi tries to find a way in as well and teams up with a detective. The two of them enter the settlement, but immediately Naomi has a run-in with Jiayon, another Immortal Nine member. He threatens to kill her, but doesn't. Meanwhile, Rouge runs into Dr. Afdal, who turns out to be Verde. The two of them transform into their mechs and engage in battle. Even though Rouge emerges victorious, she falls unconscious. Rouge is kidnapped and taken aboard a carnival ship where the puppet master conducts some experiments on her, causing her to have very violent nightmares. He seems to be tinkering with her memories and wants Rouge to find her true self. But before the puppet master can do anything else, Naomi enters the ship as well and finds Rouge. The two girls try to escape the ship, but they are stopped by a subordinate of the puppet master. With no other way out, Rouge and Naomi have to fight their way through. They engage in a tough battle against the other carnival members, but end up escaping just in the nick of time. Now that their mission on the current planet is over, Rouge and Naomi have to travel back to Earth, and they board a passenger airship where they find some time to relax and have some fun. But their fun is cut short when Jialon ends up sneaking on the ship and starts killing the passengers. He creates further chaos by using his shape-shifting powers to transform into other passengers, making it difficult for the security on the ship to track him down. Rouge and Naomi learn of Jialon's trickery and try to nail him down. They set up a trap where he is forced to reveal himself, and immediately he attacks Rouge. Rouge and Jialon end up fighting each other, and during the fight, Jialon tells Rouge that he is the culprit behind her father's death. This enrages Rouge, and she sends Jialon flying into space where he dissipates into Earth's atmosphere. But things are not looking good for Rouge, because her partner, Naomi, drops the act and reveals her true identity as a spy who was sent to observe and overlook Rouge. She arrests Rouge on the ship and takes her back to the headquarters where Naomi works. Rouge and her brother Jean are stripped of their position and confined. The reason for their imprisonment leads back to Rouge's existence as an android and how she has made several violations. But before any drastic measures can be taken, Rouge is saved by Jill, a journalist who traveled with her on the bus. Jill wants Rouge to join her organization, known as the Alters. They are a more extreme version of the resistance group. Rouge refuses her offer, and Jill attacks her by transforming into her very own mech suit. But in a surprising turn of events, Rouge ends up being saved by AS, a member of the Immortal Nine. Even though AS saved Rouge, he wants Rouge to stop her mission of hunting down the Immortal Nine members, and when she refuses, AS abandons her. Rouge and her brother Jean end up finding an archive where their father stored his memories. Turns out that Rouge was adopted by Jean's father, but treated as an equal sibling. Her mother was the mastermind behind the androids, and she not only created the code, which stripped androids of their free will, but she also made another code known as Code Eve, which can allow androids to be rid of their restrictions and live freely. This code is stored within Rouge and can be activated if all the members of the Immortal Nine use their cores together. As Rouge and Jean learn this information, Jill attacks their base in order to get the cores and activate the code. Jill ends up kidnapping Jean and has already gathered some of the cores. She flees the scene, and Rouge tries to go after her, but is stopped by another android known as Cyan. Their powers are equally matched, and the two end up causing a huge explosion, which results in the two girls falling unconscious. When Rouge wakes up, Naomi explains her side of things and tries to reconcile with Rouge. Naomi reveals that she is also an android who was constructed by aliens from outer space. Rouge gets to speak to these ethereal beings and ends up learning how humans were going to build these aliens a new home on Venus, and they were going to use androids for the construction of this home planet. However, now, the androids are being manipulated by another dangerous alien species so that the Venus project is sabotaged. The aliens advise Rouge to stay hidden, since she has Code Eve, but Rouge is determined to save her brother who has been taken to Venus by Jill. Rouge and Naomi, along with their other friends, head over to Venus to stop Jill from activating Code Eve. Meanwhile, Jean has learned about Jill's entire plan and watches in horror as she joins forces with the Puppet Master and extracts crucial information from the cores. The final piece to Jill's plan is Rouge, and she patiently waits as Rouge makes her way over to Venus. The Immortal Nine members on Venus anticipate Rouge's arrival and spring into action once she arrives. Gialon, who somehow survived his fall from space, is sent after Rouge and Naomi. He takes the opportunity to disguise himself as Rouge's brother in order to trick her into letting her guard down. Meanwhile, Jean tries his best to sway Ace's opinion on the entire plan and encourages him to help out Rouge. Rouge and Naomi bring down Gialon together and force him to lead them straight to Jill, who has fallen into madness as she is determined to complete her plan. Jill rips out the core from Gialon's body and is ready to do the same to Rouge, but Rouge is ready to confront her head-on. The two of them engage in an intense battle in which Rouge ends up losing her core. Now Jill is closer than ever to activating the code, but Naomi sacrifices herself and gives her own core to Rouge, allowing her to continue fighting Jill. But the fight comes to standstill as the Puppet Master reveals himself to be Roy, Rouge's presumably dead father. Roy reveals that the Immortal Nine and the Grand Plan were all his doing. He wanted to create a world in which androids were no longer slaves to human beings, and he manipulated all of the Immortal Nine members to carry out his plan. Jill finds this unacceptable and kills Roy, but his consciousness continues to live on in Cyan's body, an android he created for this purpose. Rouge is determined to bring down Roy, but her core is still too weak. This is why Naomi decides to fully merge her consciousness with Rouge's so that she can transform into an advanced mech. Rouge fights against Roy, who is within Cyan's body, and even though she emerges victorious, Rouge is upset that Cyan can no longer continue to live. In the end, Rouge decides to activate Code Eve, regardless of the consequences. She wants androids to live with free will.